On the Texas Rangers, then climbing off to the road in Chicago and Oakland and San Francisco. And, of course, we have the Ravens on the back fields in Owings Mills. Each and every day, Luke Jones will be on the scene for that. Any breaking news happens first on our WNST text service. That is brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. You'll get it first. Sign up. It's free. It's awesome. And then, of course, the Olympics exist, and aside from Zika and corruption and politics and urinal water out in the bay there that they'll be swimming around in, there's actually going to be a nice little storyline here at every turn, and lots of numbers. Kerry Miller usually covers college basketball, but he's covering the Olympics as well for Bleacher Report. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at Carence James. He has lovely corgis, and if you're a dog lover, you'll like Kerry as well. Kerry, what's going on, man? How are things in PA these days, man?
Oh, I'm actually, we moved down to Charlotte recently, and everything is great, except it's hot as the dickens. But it's been a great offseason. Really looking forward to covering all these Olympic events. Like you said, mostly a college basketball guy, but need something to do. Not a whole lot of college basketball going on in August.
Well, from a basketball perspective, back in my day, they were the collegiates, and then of course Barcelona happened, and all of the dream team and everything, and the Olympic coverage really became about the dream team, maybe more so than a gymnast or a swimmer. Michael Phelps hadn't come along at that point. But the Olympics has sort of tailed away from a lot of that because golfers, soccer players, basketball players, people with hundreds of millions of dollars don't really feel the need to shine up the flag, run off, expose themselves to Zika, expose themselves to injury, give away their summer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So even from a basketball perspective, and I know that's where you dribble, I don't hear as much about basketball in these Olympics as maybe we did 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, especially this year. I think the main thing that you've heard, every story that I've seen in the past few weeks on basketball, one of the first things you see is who's not going. LeBron, Steph Curry, Russ Westbrook, all these guys pulling out. But we're still going to win the gold. I think I saw yesterday they're like minus 1,600 to win the gold. It's just ridiculous. We don't have it's not the best roster we could have had. We're not going into this drag race with a Lamborghini or a Maserati, but it still almost feels like we have a souped-up Lexus going against a bunch of horse and buggies. They're just destroying everybody in the exhibition games. I think they're going to just come out on top as long as they can make sure they get their egos straight.
I don't even know how important it is, though, right? I guess that's what I'm saying is that no one's out buying Dream Team shirts. No one's wrapping themselves around, man, if we don't win the gold in basketball, what would we do, I don't think there's any pressure at all like that. And quite frankly, I'm always astonished when the Olympics come around. Now, look, dude, this is my 25th year doing sports radio here, right? So I've owned the All Sports radio station here for 18 years, 19 summers now. So Summer Olympics, Winter Olympics, whether it was Sydney, Beijing, we go back, take it back to the 90s in Albertville and all that. I've been through all of those years. And as a sports radio host, I don't sense that it's much more than something for, warm and fuzzy stories, NBC to make some money, set up nice cameras. I've seen the dark side of this and the real sports part of it, but this is really about Michael Phelps and about the gymnasts, right? That's going to be where the stories go, and that's where NBC is going to make nice, feel-good, red, white, and blue stories here in August, right?
Yeah, if Phelps wins another gold for his fifth straight Olympics, that's just ridiculous. And we're going to run with that like crazy. He certainly should. He's still the best in the world at the 100 and 200 fly. But it's a niche sport, but everybody watches. And coming from a college basketball perspective, I can really appreciate that. I follow college basketball year round, and everybody tunes in March. With the Olympics, nobody really cares until the opening ceremony on Friday, and then everybody's watching it to some extent.
So yeah, everybody wants to see Usain Bolt, run, but when's the last time you saw him run? 4 years ago,
exactly.
Right? And probably on tape
ago.
delay at that point, right? So, right.
Yeah, it's like I've written a few times already on the U.S. trials, people who love it, follow it year-round, but there's a lot of kind of breakout stars to those of us who haven't watched the Olympics in 47 months that everybody else, really into the swimming or gymnastics scene, however much of one there is, they're like, we already know about these people. They won gold at the World Championships last summer. Big surprise.
That nobody watched.
I love it. It's just a niche sport. It's so much fun.
We watched a lot of the competition. I guess maybe in April and May on off nights, and things. Nothing was happening at various points before baseball started. I watched guys swim. I watched divers. We saw sort of the lead up to it a little bit on the weekends as well. But once we get into this thing, even the competition is sort of overwhelmed by the coverage of the stories, the heartwarming stories, and the lead up and all of that stuff that brings them to the track or the pool or the net or wherever it is. That's where NBC really excels, and it's a storytelling venue as much as it is a speed thing, because there really is no, in many of these things, fans have no idea what judging is on a balance beam. They understand speed in a pool, and they understand the clock, but, from understanding sports the way you cover college basketball, or, I have for 25 years, understanding the nuances of hockey or of soccer or of baseball, or, this is sort of a one and done. It's, you're in the pool for however many seconds you're in the pool, and there's a clock, and whoever hits the wall the fastest wins, right?
Exactly. And like you're saying, you're in the pool for only a few seconds. You mentioned Usain Bolt. He runs for 9.6 seconds. That's not much time to tell a story. So you got to work with things around it. I mean, there's a guy from Oregon on Team USA. He's the 800-meter runner. I mean, that's maybe a 2-minute race, but he was 2 years ago, he was flipping burgers at McDonald's working night shift, and now he's going to be in the Olympics. You're going to hear all about him at some point before he runs. And it really is what it's all about, telling the story of these people that otherwise you would have never heard of for the last 3.5, almost 4 full years.
Well, and the other part of this, and this is where, journalism intersects. By the way, Terrence James is the way to find Kerry Miller out on Twitter. He's also at Bleacher Report covering the Olympics as well as college basketball, one of our defending champions here at WNST. So I did the Real Sports piece late into the night on Tuesday night. And, I was a couple days late to the party, and a bunch of my friends, Dave Sheinin and, Rick Mace, and a bunch of people I know that are down in Rio. Christine Brennan's down there. I'll get to all of them when they get back here, as I usually do, and I'm following people down there. But for me, the political story here far outweighs whether Michael Phelps comes home with another gold coin and terrorizes Baltimore with doing something stupid again, as he's been known to do for the last 15 years or so. So, he's our guy here, too. We've had parades for Michael Phelps. Maybe there'll be more parades. I don't know. I know it's a heartwarming story with his girlfriend and the baby and mom and all that stuff. But beyond every Michael Phelps that's been built, on top of this land where he'll be swimming, people were thrown out of their homes. There's no running water. There is no system for sewage in Rio de Janeiro. It was promised as part of the whole Olympic movement that they were going to leave behind a nicer version of Rio. Meanwhile, the water that these people are swimming in, the triathletes, the boaters, they're using the harbor in all sorts of ways. Obviously, the beach volleyball set up is right near the beach of Copacabana. Apparently, that water is literally millions of times more dangerous than whatever I swim in Ocean City, Maryland.
Yeah, it is absolutely disgusting. I mean, what was it, a month ago, there was a story of body parts washing up on the beach volleyball courts. I mean, the experts have come out and said, don't put your head underwater, don't open your mouth, and it's terrifying.
They've told the guy that runs the boat, right? Like the boat, he has the rope on the sailing thing, right? And when you're a sailor, you put the rope in your mouth. You do.
Yep.
You have to do that because you need your hand, right? So they were explaining this, and he's like, it's from a sporting perspective, it's impossible to not put the rope in your mouth. So, go figure that out when we have a bunch of sick athletes. Hey, man, the games haven't even started, and we've already had plumbing issues, the Australian team getting mugged. All of these things have already started to happen, but you're not going to hear Bob Costas talk about that. And that's when NBC says, well, we're journalists when we're covering the election. We're journalists when we're covering news and bombs and important world issues. But when it comes to the Olympics, we're just here to tell a story. We're just theater makers,
Yeah, Bob Costas wouldn't even talk about what was going on with his eyes in Sochi, let alone the politics in Russia. So I wouldn't expect much on the political state or the dangerous issues there. I think we're going to have to count on the people who braved up and are actually going down to Rio from all the various outlets you mentioned, Shinen from Washington Post. I'm sure he'll have some great stuff on how.
Oh, he's got great stuff from Sochi just about the toilets.
Airport.
Yeah, I mean, here's a funny one. On Monday night, I was at the Ravens practice with Luke, and I saw that Christine Brennan had tweeted that the media welcoming bag comes with a can of off, right? Which would be like, it's a wonderful thing. I mean, I go to the Caribbean, I go to Florida. Mosquitoes love me, Carrie, just so you know. I mean, I'm that guy, and whatever enzyme that they love, I love. Mosquitoes dig me. And they took the cans of off, and when you go into facilities, they screen check you and take it away from you. You can't carry it in your bag with you, but they give it to you. So go figure that out.
Makes perfect sense. I think the people who are, the indoors, the basketball, the swimmers, they'll be fine. But I fully understand all the golfers pulling out. You don't want to be standing outside in those mosquitoes for 4 days. That's one of the biggest stories coming out of this whole thing thus far is that Zika virus. I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon.
Well, we've also have a real illumination on where it is in America as well, in Texas and Florida now. So it's not like you can only get Zika in Brazil anymore. Terrence James, the way to find him out on Twitter. He's covering the Olympics. So tell me, what you're focused on, because you're going to be blogging, Couch Wide, Bleacher Report, huge distribution. I know on your Twitter and stuff talking about it. And look, I'm in a baseball pennant race here. Right, I've got the Ravens playing these very important preseason games during this Olympic period. I'll have the Olympics on because, quite frankly, my wife will want to watch it, but I don't know how compelled I am to tweet about girls on balance beams that I have no. And these competitions that are judged, like the figure skating in the Winter Olympics, I just don't get it. I mean, it's like a beauty pageant or something in some way, and I find it to be unsporty. And I talk about this every 4 years, and I'm not saying, I'm not urinating on it. I understand the amount of commitment that goes into this and the want to win a gold medal and all that. I don't understand the judging on all of this.
I'm with you there. The diving and the gymnastics, everything looks so fascinating. And then somehow they deduct, 0.125 points from something. It's like,
it's wonderful, right? I mean, the human body doing these beautiful things, and, it's great, but how do I say that dive was better than that dive? I mean,
exactly.
That's going to cost him, and I'm like, what? I mean, that's when I get really lost in it, and I almost have to laugh because it really takes me to like Best in Show, right? The movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So where it's just this inane conversation, I mean, I love figure skating. I like the music they skate to, but I don't want to say that one was better than that one because of some toe dip, axle something, or I don't even know the diving terms. The pike, the peak, I don't know, I know I'm going to learn,
the gymnastics for the U.S. trials. I mean, they had Nastia Lukin, Tim Daggett, former gold medalists on the mic for that, and even they were, conflicting with what the judges were saying. They're like, oh, that was a really good score. And then they get deducted like 1.5 points. Like, I don't know where that came from. So even the experts don't know what's going on half the time.
Yeah, it's like judging who's got the prettiest color. I mean, I don't know. All right, let's get to some college basketball here because I know that's your thing as well. Clearly off season, clearly not a lot going on. You're making lists of this and the rankings of that. And I know how the off season goes because we do get 2 weeks of it in the NFL. But as far as the long, and really is a longer off season for college basketball than most other sports. I mean, in my mind, college basketball doesn't sort of really come until Thanksgiving, and it sort of goes away before opening day, even earlier sometimes if you're a Maryland fan. But for this summer and for where Maryland was and where they're going, boy, what a pisser the draft was, right? I mean, all of these guys think there's something special. They go out and they find out that they probably should be playing college basketball this year.
Yeah, I think Robert Carter was the big one. If he would have stayed, I think they'd be in much better shape. But, I mean, Turgeon did a great job pulling in guys. I mean, Justin Jackson's going to be a great small forward for them. I think the real question is going to be at the center. But DeMonte Dodd and Michael Stokowski, they got to figure out something there. But you got Trimble back. That's the big piece. So they'll at least probably make the tournament. There may be a fringe top 25 team. We'll see how these young guys do.
Man, hold on for a second here. You just said they might make the tournament. They might be a fringe top 25 team. That is that's a precipitous fall, right? I mean, from they're going to win the national championship. I mean, and I know that's where we are in college basketball. I mean, I'm not geezing back to the days of, Albert King and Buck Williams and Len Elm. I mean, I lived through all of that. It was wonderful. It was glorious, but it's over. And it's feast or famine here based on one diamond stone, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's really where we are. It's all about the one-and-done guys anymore. I mean, Maryland, like you said, it's a precipitous fall. They were my preseason pick to win it all last year. I was not alone on that ledge, and they were a 5 seed in the tournament.
I'm going to blame you for it, but the whole thing,
16. Yeah.
Well, it really was. That's probably what made it so important last year, right? That's why losing in the 16 and sort of the unraveling of the season, especially on the road, once March got rolling along, and the seeding, as you pointed out. I mean, they were, by any measurement, a massive disappointment, I would say. Now, anybody else say, well, they got to the 16. They haven't been there forever. Yeah, but the notion that they're going to get back there this year, I mean, it's a stretch, right? I mean, at this point, it's a stretch to think that.
Yeah, I mean, even though last year ended up being a disappointment, if they end up, once again a number 5 seed in the Sweet 16, that would feel like they outkicked their coverage this year, just based on how much they lost. I mean, they lost 4 starters. That's really tough for anybody to do.
Who are all going to get a cup of coffee in the NBA too. I mean, all those guys are going to at some point dribble in the NBA, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think Diamond Stone's going to be great at the next level. Robert Carter will eventually end up somewhere. I think he was too good. It's kind of crazy to me that he wasn't, a higher valued draft pick. But, what can you do anymore in this age? I mean, everybody's leaving early. If you're not getting 5-star guys, you're, kind of out in left field just hoping for the best.
It's a weird time for college basketball. I know you'll be chronicling it. You can follow him, Carence James, out on Twitter, or Kerry Miller at Bleacher Report. And, hey, man, enjoy your summer on your couch there. Don't eat too much popcorn now.
No, I will. And I got a pennant race to follow, too, because I'm a Nationals fan. So hopefully we run into you guys in the World Series.
I went down to that slum last week to see Billy Joel on a Saturday night. And, I'm really anti-Nationals. I mean, F them. I mean, they mistreated me on the baseball tour last year, so I'm done with them. And beyond that, I think Bryce Harper's kind of a dick, so it's fun to root against him. It really is. It's fun to root against Strasburg and these guys. So we'll see how it goes. Hey, I would love to have an Oriole National World Series at the end of October, because then maybe the national media would come in and talk about how much money Mr. Angelos has been stuffing in his greedy pockets while he sued all of his partners.
It would certainly make for even more traffic on the Beltway in 83.
It would be like a Reagan-Gorbachev or like a Putin-Trump sort of claymation Frankie Goes to Hollywood video to see Peter Angelos and Ted Lerner try to get their greedy little paws on the commissioner's trophy, and have to have Manfred sit in between them and figure out who to give it to. I would not have any problem with that. As a storyline, I'm buying in. Give me an Orioles Nationals World Series, Care.
Well, I would love it. Growing up in an hour from Baltimore, became a Nationals fan. I think.
Hold on, were an Orioles fan?
No, but I grew up near him and went to a lot of Orioles games.
See, I'm trying to find some people that have abandoned the Orioles and gone to the Nationals because, quite frankly, the owner here gave them no reason to continue being an Orioles fan. Now, I know that there are, mixed fans in the corridor. There are some people that, were with the Orioles for 30, 40 years, like myself, that aren't going to give them up. I'm waiting for the old man to die. I've been pretty unabashed about that. I mean, at some point, things will return to normal and I'll get my team back. But I am wearing my Oriole hat, and they are in first place. And, hey, they are fun to watch. I wish the owner were better. I wish things were normal. I wish the All-Star game were here last week instead of at your place 2 years from now. But all of it's politics, all of it's money, and all of it's, to some degree, greed. I mean, on everybody's part. But all that being said, it would be good for our region, and I know out there are plenty of people on that side of the fence, the D.C. side, who used to be Orioles fans.
I mean, like the Olympics could be fun to watch as long as you can forget about the politics behind it.
Bundy and Strasburg, Game 1. I'll see you there.
All right, sounds good.
We can all dream a little, right? Carrie Miller can be reached at on Bleacher Report or at Carrance James on Twitter. You can find me out in the Bahia Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device. Download the TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear. I'm Nestor. This is WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports. Towson, Baltimore. We get some positivity from time to time from the likes of Brian Billick or John Harbaugh or some of our cool guests here. And I've gone a little away from sports here and again. You guys know about my music series last month with the